Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in.
In the glittering city of Dubai, where luxury and power often hide dark secrets, one man's dream life unraveled into a nightmare of betrayal, greed, and murder. John Miller, a successful American businessman, thought he had it all: a thriving career, financial security, and what appeared to be a picture-perfect marriage to Layla, a beautiful and ambitious woman he met while working abroad. To their friends, they were the ideal couple living the Dubai dream. But beneath the polished exterior, Layla was harboring a dangerous secret. Layla wasn't just working long hours at her corporate job. She was having a steamy affair with her boss, a wealthy executive with influence and power. The affair was reckless, driven by lust, ambition, and a hunger for more. To Layla, John was stability, but her boss offered the thrill of forbidden passion and promises of a life dripping with wealth and status. But secrets never stay hidden for long. One night, John noticed inconsistencies: late-night messages, unexplained absences, and whispers of gossip from mutual friends. Suspicion grew into obsession. He hired a private investigator, and what he uncovered shattered him to his core. Photos, videos, undeniable proof that his wife was betraying him in the most humiliating way possible. Consumed by rage and heartbreak, John confronted Layla. But instead of remorse, she coldly admitted the affair. Worse, she revealed plans to leave him for her boss. For John, this wasn't just infidelity. It was ultimate betrayal. The life he had sacrificed for, the empire he had built, was crumbling before his eyes. Days later, the situation escalated. A heated confrontation turned violent. One person would not survive that night. The glittering lights of Dubai had concealed a twisted love triangle that spiraled into bloodshed. A husband's shattered pride, a wife's dangerous double life, and a powerful boss caught in the middle. But here's the chilling question: was this a crime of passion, or something far more calculated? Because when investigators began peeling back the layers, what they uncovered was darker than anyone imagined. The night that changed everything began like any other. But in the Miller household, tension had reached its breaking point. John Miller, the betrayed American husband, was drowning in humiliation. His once loving wife, Layla, had not only confessed to her affair with her boss, but made it clear she planned to leave John behind, discarding their marriage like yesterday's news. But John wasn't ready to let go. His love had turned into obsession, his heartbreak into fury. To him, Layla wasn't just walking away. She was tearing apart the life he had built with his own hands. On that fateful evening, John confronted Layla once more. Words turned to shouting, shouting to threats, and then violence. Neighbors later reported hearing blood-curdling screams echoing through the apartment walls. When the chaos ended, one person was lying lifeless on the floor. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Because when police arrived, nothing was as clear-cut as it seemed. Layla's powerful boss, her secret lover, was quick to insert himself into the narrative. With money, influence, and connections in Dubai's elite circles, he had the ability to sway what would be told and what would be hidden. Was this truly a spontaneous crime of passion committed by a betrayed husband? Or was there a deeper, more sinister conspiracy at play? One that could expose corruption, greed, and a cover-up at the highest levels? And the answer would shock everyone. When police arrived at the Miller apartment, the scene was disturbing. Blood on the marble floor, shattered glass, and a body lying motionless. John Miller was frantic, claiming it had all been a terrible mistake, a fight that went too far. But detectives quickly realized this case wouldn't be simple. Neighbors reported hearing screams, then silence. Some said they saw a second man entering the building that night, a man who matched the description of Layla's powerful boss. But strangely, this detail didn't appear in the official police report. Why? Because in Dubai, influence can make evidence disappear. Investigators discovered encrypted messages between Layla and her boss, messages that hinted at something more than an affair. They weren't just lovers, they were plotting, discussing ways Layla could divorce John without losing access to his wealth, talking about property transfers, hidden bank accounts. Greed was at the center of it all. And then came the chilling discovery. A witness claimed Layla's boss had promised to take care of John if he ever became a problem. But with money and power on his side, the boss quickly denied everything, painting John as a violent, jealous husband who simply snapped. The narrative was shifting. John's lawyers insisted he was being framed. But the more investigators dug, the darker the picture became. Because someone had doctored phone records, evidence had been wiped clean. And now, the burning question remained. Was John Miller a heartbroken husband who lost control? Or had he walked straight into a trap, set by his wife and her powerful boss? As the investigation deepened, it seemed every answer only led to more disturbing questions. John Miller was painted as the jealous American husband who let rage consume him. But behind closed doors, investigators were beginning to uncover cracks in the official story. One piece of evidence changed everything: surveillance footage. A nearby building security camera captured a shadowy figure entering the apartment complex just minutes before the fight erupted. The man's height, build, and luxury car matched one person, Layla's boss. But here's the problem. When police first logged the evidence, that footage was nowhere to be found. It had vanished from the case file. Someone on the inside had made it disappear. Then came the second bombshell. Forensic analysis revealed that the fatal blow, the one that ended Layla's life, didn't match John's account. The angle of the strike suggested a taller assailant. Someone stronger. Someone who wanted to make sure she never spoke again. Layla's affair had spiraled into something darker. Was she silenced because she knew too much? Had her powerful boss turned on her in a final act of control, leaving John to take the fall? But just as investigators prepared to confront the boss, he vanished. His office was cleared out, his phones disconnected. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. And now, the man accused of murder, John Miller, sat in a Dubai prison, staring down a possible death sentence for a crime he may not have committed. But the darkest revelation was still to come. For John Miller, the nightmare was only beginning. Accused of murdering his wife, he was thrown into one of Dubai's most notorious prisons, a place where power and corruption dictated who survived and who didn't. Inside, John was treated not as a grieving husband, but as a foreign criminal. Guards whispered about his case, mocking the American who had supposedly killed for jealousy. But behind the mockery was something darker. Orders. John was being targeted. He was beaten, deprived of food, and kept in isolation for days. Rumors spread that influential hands, possibly Layla's boss, were paying off prison staff to make John break. But John wasn't just fighting for survival inside those walls. Back in the United States, his own family was fracturing under the weight of the scandal. Business partners distanced themselves. Friends refused to speak his name. And then came the ultimate betrayal. Court documents revealed that before her death, Layla had quietly transferred assets from John's company into an offshore account. One connected not only to her boss, but to someone John trusted in his inner circle back home. His own brother. Had Layla and John's brother been working together behind his back? Was this affair not just about lust and betrayal, but about stealing everything John had built? In prison, broken and desperate, John started to realize maybe his wife's death wasn't an accident or even a crime of passion. Maybe it was a carefully orchestrated plot, and he was the scapegoat. For John Miller, locked away in a Dubai prison, betrayal seemed to surround him. His wife had chosen lust and ambition over loyalty. But the next revelation cut deeper than anything before. His own brother, the man he trusted with his finances, his business, and his legacy, was implicated in the scheme. Investigators discovered offshore accounts linked to both Layla and John's brother. Money was siphoned out of John's company in small, deliberate amounts, barely noticeable until the fortune was gone. Layla's affair with her boss wasn't just about passion. It was about greed. And his brother may have been the one pulling the strings. But here's the most disturbing twist. Prison informants whispered that John's arrest wasn't just bad luck. It was planned. Layla's boss had promised her a new life, free from her husband. John's brother would get access to his empire. And once John was out of the way, rotting in a foreign prison, they would split the rewards. But plans rarely go smoothly. Somewhere along the line, Layla herself became disposable. Her death wasn't supposed to happen that night. But when money, lust, and betrayal collide, control is easily lost. Now John faced a terrifying reality. Not only had he been betrayed by his wife, but by his own blood. And worse, the people who wanted him destroyed were still free, living lavishly, while he awaited a death sentence. But just when it seemed his fate was sealed, a mysterious ally inside the prison approached him with a message that would change everything. "John, you've been set up. I can prove it." In the depths of a Dubai prison, where every whisper carried danger, John Miller was approached by a man who claimed to know the truth. His name was Kareem, a former banker turned inmate, jailed for financial crimes. But Kareem wasn't just any prisoner. He once handled accounts for Dubai's elite, including Layla's boss. Kareem told John that before Layla's death, huge sums of money were moved, funds tied directly to John's company. The transactions linked Layla, her boss, and shockingly, John's brother. Kareem had proof, secret copies of account ledgers he'd hidden away before his arrest. But the real bombshell was this. Kareem insisted Layla's death wasn't John's doing at all. According to him, she had become a liability. She knew too much. Her boss and John's brother decided she was no longer useful and silenced her. If Kareem was telling the truth, John wasn't just betrayed. He was the perfect scapegoat. A foreigner in a strict country, easy to blame, easy to bury in the system. But there was one problem. Kareem wanted something in return. He demanded John's protection inside the prison, because powerful people wanted him dead too. John now faced an impossible choice. Trust a convicted fraudster with his only chance at freedom, or reject him and risk dying in prison branded a murderer. A faint whisper echoes. They set us both up. John Miller was no longer just a prisoner. He was a pawn in a deadly game of greed and betrayal. And now Kareem, the disgraced banker turned reluctant ally, held the key to the truth. Kareem revealed coded ledgers he had memorized before his arrest. They detailed a series of offshore accounts, money flowing from John's company into shell corporations controlled by Layla's boss, and shockingly, by John's brother back in the United States. But the most chilling detail wasn't the money. It was a message Kareem claimed he intercepted, an encrypted email where Layla's boss wrote, "The wife talks too much. Handle it. Make it look like passion." The plan was clear. Layla's death wasn't an accident. It was a silencing. John's role? To be the perfect cover story. But if this information was so explosive, why hadn't it surfaced before? Kareem warned John that the conspiracy ran deep. Guards were paid off. Evidence had been buried. And if John tried to speak without proof, he would simply disappear behind prison walls. Together, John and Kareem began a dangerous mission, smuggling Kareem's evidence out of prison through a sympathetic guard. But every move carried risk. One wrong step, and they'd both be dead men. Meanwhile, whispers reached John's family in the US. His brother was living lavishly. New homes, expensive cars, all paid for with money funneled from John's empire. And as John clung to survival in a foreign prison, the shocking truth began to surface. The person who destroyed his life shared his blood. It was never about love, only money. Inside the unforgiving walls of a Dubai prison, John Miller and Kareem were playing a deadly game. The evidence that could clear John's name and expose a conspiracy stretching across 2 continents had to make it out. But every guard, every camera, every locked door was a potential death trap. A sympathetic guard, one who had grown disgusted with the corruption, agreed to help. Hidden within the spine of a Bible were copies of Kareem's ledgers, along with that chilling, encrypted message. The wife talks too much. Handle it. Make it look like passion. If the documents reached the outside world, John's brother and Layla's boss could no longer hide. But the risk was enormous. Rumors were already spreading in the prison that John was making moves. Enemies lurked in every corridor. One night, John was attacked, cornered in the showers by 3 inmates. He survived, but just barely. To him, it was proof. Someone knew the evidence was on the move, and they were desperate to silence him before it reached the light of day. Meanwhile, in the US, cracks in his brother's perfect facade began to show. Investigators traced shell companies back to him. Whispers of federal probes surfaced. But without the Dubai evidence, nothing would stick. The Bible, stuffed with the secrets that could destroy them all, was now on its way out of the prison. But would it reach the right hands before someone made sure it vanished forever? The Bible, filled with secrets, had made it out of the prison. Within its spine lay the truth. Offshore accounts, coded ledgers, and the chilling order that sealed Layla's fate. For John Miller, it was the final lifeline in a world that wanted him erased. In court, the prosecution painted John as a jealous American husband who killed in a fit of rage. But when his defense unveiled Kareem's documents, the story began to shift. Money trails linking John's brother to Layla's boss. Hidden accounts. The damning email. The wife talks too much. Handle it. Make it look like passion. The courtroom fell silent. For the first time, doubt crept into the case. Was John a murderer, or the victim of a cold, calculated setup? Back in the United States, federal agents closed in on John's brother. His empire collapsed overnight. Houses seized, accounts frozen. He was exposed as a man who betrayed his own blood for money. But before he could stand trial, he vanished, gone without a trace. And Layla's powerful boss? Insiders whispered he fled Dubai under diplomatic cover, shielded by influence and wealth. John's fate rested on the court's decision. In a shocking twist, the judges reduced his conviction. Not innocent, but not guilty of murder. Instead, he was sentenced for assault leading to death. A charge that spared him execution but condemned him to years in prison. The man who had lost everything, his wife, his fortune, his freedom, remained behind bars, carrying the weight of betrayal that spanned continents. Kareem, the unlikely ally, was transferred suddenly to another prison. Weeks later, he was found dead in his cell. Officially, it was suicide. Unofficially, it was a message. The truth had surfaced, but justice? That never came. Because in the world of power, greed, and betrayal, the guilty don't always pay. Case closed? Or just another cover-up?
What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.